Okay, I think most participants would have joined by now. So we will begin the webinar. I'd like to start by welcoming all the participants who have joined in. And a special welcome to Akhila and Bina, who are going to be the main respondents in this session, which is in the form of a conversation. So the format would be something like this, that we will have a conversation on the theme, which I will shortly introduce for maybe around 45 minutes or so. And then we have another 45 minutes in which we can have some interaction, which will be in the form of questions that could be typed into the chat box. And I will reflect the questions back to Bina and Akhila. And they could then respond based on whatever the questions are. So, as I think all of you are aware, today's webinar is really a conversation around a unique 3-month teacher training program or a course that has been conducted in-house by the school KFI in Chennai for several years now. And Bina and Akhila, who are here, are two of the facilitators of this program. They have been closely involved with this for very many years. So I'd like to begin by just asking Akhila to just briefly tell us about her trajectory in the school. How long has she been there? What has she taught? Which age groups? So we have some awareness of who they are.
Right.
So we want to really hear whatever you're saying, especially the conversation is really centered around both of you. So,
Okay, can Bina speak? Then I'll talk again.
okay, sure. Yeah.
So, am I audible? Am I loud enough? Yeah. So, I'm Bina Shivram. I've been working at the school for more than 35 years. Been a teacher all my life, most of it at the school KFI in Chennai. My interest in education has largely been with elementary education, primary education. And so I've worked largely most of my teaching years in junior school, been the coordinator off and on, and worked actively with the curriculum of the kindergarten and the junior school classes. At the school, we have the mixed age group setting for classes 2, 3, and 4. So I've been one of the people who has been there right from the beginning of the mixed age group setting in the junior school classes. My interest has always been with children. My educational background is psychology and education. And I love the school and I'm here for long.
They were not able to hear me. So I've removed it. Now I'll try.
Yeah. Akhila, now you're very loud and clear now.
I'm audible? Huh.
Yeah. Now very clear.
So should I say everything again?
Yeah, just for a minute, I just wanted to thank Bina and add one more thing, that Bina has also been, I think, a mentor to many of the newer and younger teachers. And I think she continues to play that role in a big way. And of course, she's been part of the program that we're going to talk about. Yes, Akhila, over to you.
Thank you.
So I have also been a teacher for over 30 years and have taught a variety of subjects, largely at the middle and senior school level. My educational background is history, geography, and journalism. And I have taught history, geography, English, and Hindi at the middle and senior levels. And I have been the coordinator of the middle school and later the senior school as well. I was part of the pilot mixed age group program, which we began in school in 2007. And since then, we have the middle school mixed age group continuing. Yeah.
Thank you, Akhila. And just briefly to introduce myself, I'm Alok Mathur, and I've been a former teacher and a teacher educator based in Rishi Valley School. And I've known Bina and Akhila both ever since I think they've been in the school. I think we've overlapped in our years of working together. And one thing especially which interests me in today's session is that we also have run, workshops, programs, courses in Rishi Valley. But the courses have been mainly for people who are already working in the school, like new teachers and some of the teachers who wanted to join that course. So I've been always fascinated with the fact that the program that we're going to talk about today, the teacher training program at the school, is not really aimed at teachers who are already working in the school. In fact, you're being inviting people from other locations and other places to join the program and get a taste of what it takes to be a teacher, right? And that's the title of the session today, What It Takes to Be a Teacher. So that's quite a unique sort of an initiative. And I definitely would like to know more about it. I've been aware of it for a long time. I think one or two times I've come to the school where this was going on, and I participated with the uh, people who are part of the program. But there's a lot which is unknown to me. And I'm sure many of the participants also here in the webinar would love to hear more. So maybe we could begin by your telling us when this program began, what was the thinking behind it, um, how would you sort of outline its sort of broad objectives, when you started out on this program? Any one of you could take it, but maybe I'll ask Bina to, start on this.
So it's almost 20 years since we started the program. This is the 20th year, academic year. It started, as I recollect, with we saw many people who came to school, visiting the school, interested in knowing what the school was all about. So there were a lot of people who used to visit the school and keep asking us a lot of questions about how does what does the teacher here do here? What is the educational practices? Then we had a bunch of people who used to come, were exploring Krishnamurti's vision of education and wanted to see how the school was putting into practice the philosophy. We had also people who were not strictly educators in that sense as teachers, but people who were starting new initiatives, and they felt that the kind of vision we held and the things that we felt were very important in any kind of organizational setup is important for them when they were starting new initiatives. So there were a lot of people from NGOs who were doing rural education or rural entrepreneurship kind of programs, who came and learned from us, interacted with us, and through conversations understood some of the things that we were trying to do. We also felt that, as a school, when we were talking to these people who were asking us these questions, it's very important for us to see that being a teacher is much larger than just being trained to having our B.Ed and having the training skills. In a Krishnamurti school, it involves a whole gamut of things that comes under education. So from there sprung the idea that we could run a course, a program called the teacher training course, and began from there. After we initiated it, we saw that it also strengthened us in many ways, because when you articulate something that is important or communicate that, it strengthens the hold that you have over that idea or that experience. So that was very important. Also, we said we reiterated that in our practices that we need to make sure that the philosophy is in practice. The teachings of Krishnamurti finds expression in our daily interaction, in our daily functioning. So I would say these were the broad objectives with which we started. It began with interaction with the outside guests who came to school, and we saw that it really did a lot for us in school when we revisited and reiterated what our school is all about, that there is no gap between what our endeavor and what we are doing. So I would put it there. Akhila, anything else to add?
Maybe just one thing. See, we, as a school also, I think we too felt that if we have a good training program that we could run in our own school, there is the possibility of having a pool of at least 70% ready teachers who could, if they wish to, and if we wanted them to join the school. So that also was one of the ideas behind the program. That though we made it very clear when we were taking in the teachers that neither they nor we have any commitment to become part of the school. They don't have to be teacher. They don't have to join the school at the end of the program. They don't have that commitment. Neither did we have to make that promise. So it left both of us free to do what we wish to with the program, whether we wish to join the school or we wish to continue with the variety of things that Bina spoke about. It was possible.
Okay.
So
So,
Does that
making
answer
a,
the question? Yeah.
so making a person who comes to school and does the course would make them at least 70% ready to be inducted into a school, a Krishnamurti kind of school. So that was one leading uh, intention in the way the program has been curated.
so what you're saying is that what was initially more informal interactions, less structured, was sort of then put together into a 3-month structure of the program. Right.
Yes.
You've already
Yes.
given us some indication of the variety of participants who come, people from NGOs, this, that, and so on. And Akhila has sort of also indicated that, there were no initial mutual expectations of, a continuing relationship after the 3-month program. But could you say a little bit more about what people who joined the program, the kind of people who participated, what they've gone on to do later on, if they have not joined the school? You said a small fraction may have joined the school, but what else have they sort of gone on to do, which you think the program might have prepared them for?
I forgot to add that there was one segment of parents of the school who also joined the course, not to become teachers, but they felt that they would understand the educational philosophy and the way we do things better. And they felt it's very important for them to closely align with the school in terms of, as participants, of this journey with their children. So that was another segment of people. Some of them have gone on to other schools, to make conventional schools. But what our hope has been is wherever they go and whatever they do, they would carry this flavor of what Krishnamurti talks of: right relationship to work, right relation to each other, working together. So it actually moved out of just teaching as a profession to, living a kind of a life-oriented education. Some of them were people who have read Krishnamurti a lot, and they really were wanting to know how can this philosophy be translated into practice? How does it work in a school setting? Is it possible at all?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and others who may have come without that prior knowledge, but I think as the program, as they experienced the program, they probably gathered many aspects of this and was able to carry it with
yes,
them. Some of them to schools, and some, did you say, were starting NGOs, entrepreneurs?
NGOs going and working with rural education. We had people from that group which had, scholars who were working on Krishnamurti, who, wanted to know what is the educational impact of his philosophy. People who were doing other kind of scholars
Researchers,
studies.
you mean, researchers.
Research scholars.
Okay.
So there was a variety. Some of them put it to their, into their career, whichever career they took it forward, or they were setting up schools. Many, people who were going to start schools have come and done this course before they started schools. Interested in kind of school, so they have come. There are many of them who have come from official areas in Tamil Nadu, Andhra, from the north. So these are the kinds of people who have applicants that we have had. But all of them knew before they joined the course, because during the, when we meet them over a conversation, a meeting, when they aspire to join the course, we make it very clear that it is education within the overview of a Krishnamurti school.
So you must be having a selection process. Huh? Very briefly,
Yes.
could you tell us something about how the applicants come in, how they are selected, and how many are there typically in one cohort?
So in a cohort, we try to restrict the number to 5.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes we go up to 6 or 7, but ideally just 5. There may be about 30 to 40 applicants, and
Okay.
we meet every one of them. They apply online. There is a teacher application form, and in which they indicate it's for the teacher training course. We call them for a meeting. We have a conversation, a panel of teachers meet them, and basically we see how open are they for the course. The course is rigorous. It requires serious engagement, and it is to facilitate a deeper understanding into the teachings.
Right.
So this is quite clear, and we see if the applicant is a person who would be able to sustain and persist with their interest, and it is a rigorous course, and it's 3 months being with the school full time.
Do you charge a fee for this course?
No, we do not charge a fee.
Oh, okay.
Earlier, in the first few years, we did give a stipend, but we felt that was unnecessary, and we don't charge a fee, neither do we give a stipend.
Okay.
For the last 10, 15 years, we've stopped the stipend.
So it's really based
We
on.
decided we wanted to keep it a clean slate without any financial bearings.
Which basically means it basically is based on a mutual commitment that both make. The school makes as well as they make, and it's a fairly selected group, quite intensive, 3 months they are expected to go through. Okay.
And it's a self-driven course.
Yeah.
So they have mentors, but we don't, we just do this feather touch kind of mentoring. So it has to be people who are motivated, drive the course. Self-directed learning is the path.
Yeah, maybe.
Anything else?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point to dive into what the actual program consists of. Maybe I'm sure everyone's curious to know more about, what's the structure of the program? Are there phases during these 3 months? What are the kinds of key experiences that the participants have? Which aspects do they directly interact with teachers and students in the school? What do they do with each other? Do they get to visit classrooms? So such sorts of, if you could flesh out some of the details of this kind, I think it'll give us the flavor of what the program actually feels like, looks like. Akhila, maybe you could.
Akhila, could you?
Yeah. I'll try and answer, and Bina can add wherever I've left out anything.
Yeah.
So one thing that I want to emphasize is that, see, even though we call it a training program, there is no active training process as such. In fact, it's an experience of school as it is. So that's what they first get. Second, they try to chalk out their own program through a planning sheet which is given to them right at the beginning, where they say, what is it that I'd like to learn? How would I like to go about it? What kind of support would I like? And what further can I do? And this is something that is shared with them. They get a kind of a welcome package in which they have their planning sheet. They have the entire 3 months program chalked out for them, including which pedagogical session will happen, what events at school are calendared. All of that is given to them, along with a journal, along with a reading list, which is quite exhaustive, of a variety of books on education. They are assigned a mentor on the first day who also guides them through this process. And like Bina used the word feather touch, that's the kind of mentoring that we want them to have. Now, having this timetable thing, that's all. We provide inputs, but the way they take it forward has to be completely through self-direction. And so they do it with the help of the mentor who supports them in their questions and says, where can you get these answers? How would you be able to do what you want to do? And puts them in touch with either it's a book or a person that they could have a conversation with. So while they do not come into any of our meetings, they don't come into any of our classes either. So they don't have that contact with students. They do have contact with students through 3 or 4 areas. One is they join the dining hall during lunchtime. They sit at the table along with their mentor with a group of children. They participate in the dining hall rotational cleaning activity. So each of them is assigned a particular group that comes. So along with the teachers who are there as part of the group, they too participate in that. They attend certain classes. They attend art class, a craft class. They join one of the games classes as well. So those are the contacts that they have with the children. And they also very actively help in one of our um, annual programs, which is the Junior School Parents' Day, where they are assigned a group with which they work along with the anchor teachers. So these are the areas where they have contact with the children, because we feel that the classroom is something where it's a kind of a space that is there between teachers and students, and we don't generally allow anybody inside those spaces. And also, what we don't want these, for want of a better word, trainees to have is a kind of a one imitate that they don't get to imitating the teacher that they observed or they looked at. Two, that they don't conclude what it is to teach or what it is to be a teacher based on this one teacher in whose class they were. They do attend a demonstration class. So there are about, I think, 6 to 7 demonstration classes in a variety of subjects. And each teacher who does that, all the trainees, or the entire cohort is part of that demonstration class. And they observe the class and they make observation notes, and they have a format by which they understand what they have observed. They have to do a lot of reading work. There's a lot of reading that they have to do. So they have one article review, one book review, and per month they have to do that. Plus, they also have to write a reflective essay each month. So each month there is a reflective essay which we've created the prompts based on where they are in the program. Like at the beginning of the program, they reflect upon what it is that brought them to this program. As they go on, they look at what it means to compare and what is comparison, what is competition, and what is its place at all, if at all, in education, and so on. So the 3 prompts that they get through their course is kind of helps them to reflect on what is it that they have understood, what insights do they have, and how have they figured out what it means to be a teacher. And so there's a lot of reading. They have a journal, and they complete this journal every week and share it with the mentor, who also talks to them has certain set of questions that he or she can ask with regard to what is it that they've learned this week, how has it been, what have they really understood. So there are a series of questions that also get um, asked. So in a way, so there is a lot of opportunity for conversations. This is the other way in which they learn conversations with their mentors. The mentor puts them in touch with other teachers with whom they would like to have conversations. Why is it that we don't have competitive sports? Maybe a question. So we'd probably put them in touch with Vinay Ranna, who's running the sports program, or how do you run your field trips, and then we might put them in touch with somebody who's done a lot of field trips and who would be able to guide them on that. So the conversations happen, and what we also have there are three kinds of, I think one is there is a pedagogical input where different teachers with their own experience and their own interest and their own understanding of various aspects of learning, various aspects of teaching, give them those pedagogical inputs. It's a 1 hour session where they give that. Besides these conversations, there is a conversation that happens over a reading of any of Krishnamurti texts. This happens weekly. They have what are known as why does this concern me kind of a session where we look at different educational aspects, what's going on in the world, what are some difficulties that are there, and why does it have to concern a teacher? Why should a teacher be concerned with such things? And what does it do to the teacher to be able to do the understand this world, whether it's a question of, let's say, the erosion of fundamental rights or the kind of difficulties that are happening in society, in civil society, or the kind of educational questions that are coming up that are raised, or any of these can become part of that conversation. They also have another conversation space where they themselves are encouraged to talk amongst themselves about a particular question that seems to be something that's holding their attention. This becomes a facilitated conversation where one of the teachers from school joins them simply as somebody who facilitates the conversation so it goes in line with the question that's been asked and that they can take it forward and there are no conversation stoppers there. So largely through inputs, reading, a lot of writing, conversations, and they have the same expectation of adult conduct on our school campus. So the same restrictions that are on teachers on how they conduct themselves on the campus is also accorded to them. And and I think for us it's important because for the 3 months that they are there, we build an awareness of having guests on the campus and understanding that we have a certain place and how to hold them and what to do with ourselves as we hold them in the campus. So these are some of the aspects of the program as I can remember.
For the work component.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Bina, for reminding me. Yes. So now, whatever they have done, whether it's the essay or the book reports or the article reports, and a lot of the we put them in touch with a lot of the Journal of the Krishnamurti schools. That is one very important reading material that we give them. They put it into a portfolio. And along with this, they have one more thing. In the last month, they start working on what we call the work component. It's a project that they do, and could be anything from a well thought out, good teaching materials, or things that we would have liked to do but had no time to do. Like, for instance, the study of the trees on campus. So somebody does that and records it and gives us that material. Or a repository of the various universities and the kind of courses that they offer, which could be used for the senior school students. And this is finally concluded with a meeting where the mentors, each mentor writes a report on their trainee, the person whom they are mentoring, and the trainees share their portfolio, describe the process of creating the work component and what they hope the work component will do for us. And that's a concluding meeting, in which we then hand over the letter in which we've written a report and hand it over to them to conclude the entire program. And many teachers in school who haven't been actively part of the program, but may have been people who've given pedagogical inputs or had conversations, they join this meeting and listen to the trainees as they make their presentations. So, and that's how that's how the training program culminates. Have I missed anything else out, Bina?
not missed out, but one thing is the whole program is structured in such a way that the principal has two coordinators every year who takes charge of the state teacher training program. Then the principal and the coordinators of the program choose the mentors, 5 to 6 mentors, and the whole thing is held together because different teachers come in for different sessions, either for conversation or to give a pedagogical input. And there are a variety of themes that we choose as pedagogical input: approach to teaching, social sciences, or what does it mean to care for the whole child. So there's a variety of things, and we involve as many teachers as possible into the course. And when these sessions are going on, whenever a teacher is free, relatively free and doesn't have a class timetable, is welcome to join the course. And most of the teachers have said that how privileged the teacher trainees are, because they get all of it in 3 months, while we, through many years, we get a taste and understanding of all these things. So it's a very inclusive kind of thing, something that's happening in school, yet at the side.
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much,
Yes,
both of
and
you.
we take it in turns to coordinate. So the same coordinator doesn't remain throughout. So if I was coordinating for a year, then along with another person who learns and then takes over as coordinator the next year. So we try to see as many teachers as possible who become involved in this program. And all the inputs are in-house. It's only the teachers of the school who provide all the inputs.
You don't get external resource persons, that's what you're saying.
No, we don't.
Yeah. Oh,
And they do participate, but they do get an idea because they participate in our assemblies. They participate in the study center meetings. And of course, the long assemblies in which we do invite guests. So they are participants in that. So in many ways, so it is, in a sense, we do open up the school space for the period of 3 months to these 4 or 5 people who may or may not join school at the end of it.
Yeah. No, thank you for such a rich description, Akhila. What you described it in great detail, in many layers, and you can see there are so many varieties of learning processes that these few fortunate trainees are able to experience, which is a very rare thing. So it's not just teaching. I can see it's also a culture of a place, relationships, how an organization functions. There are so many other things that they seem to be learning on the side. And
I have forgotten one more thing.
yes,
so while there are demonstration classes that they attend,
yeah.
This year, what we did do, because we do, we will talk a little bit more about our challenges later, but we find it difficult to give them a class to do a teaching module. So this time, what Bina introduced micro teaching for them, and they did is it a mini or a micro class that they do, Bina? You're muted.
So we did both of them, and we did mini teaching classes as well as micro teaching classes, and also taught them how to make a lesson plan, a lesson design for the class that they are doing. So they had an experience of actually teaching.
Okay, some practical
skills. But their students were the teachers, the mentors.
So simulated classes, you could say.
Yeah, simulated and feedback given, and then they work on the feedback and they redo it. That's how the micro or the mini teaching modules work.
Thank you. In fact, Bina, you anticipated the question I had. You already responded that how does the school organize this? Because there's a lot which has to be done to structure a program. You've, I think, already outlined more or less
yes.
how it's done. So let me move on to a further question. I'm seeing that we need to give time for participants to also raise their questions. But let me put in parallel 2 questions, and you can respond to them in any order. So what do you think are the learnings for the school which emerge out of it? It's implicit in a lot of what you've said, but maybe you could make it more explicit. What are the things which the mentor, especially, who has a very key role, even though it's a feather touch mentoring, but you can see that the mentor has a very key role in sort of helping them navigate the space and structuring their program? How does the mentor and how does the rest of the school also learn or gain out of this program? And parallel or separately, you could also talk about what are the challenges in running such a program. I can imagine it won't be an easy thing to sort of sustain year after year after year. So maybe you could take these two questions in turn. Any one of you could begin.
Would you like to start, Bina?
Okay. So the learnings are a lot, and that's why we've sustained this program. And I think it feeds back a lot into the school. It enriches the learning atmosphere in school. I would say that it's actually, I was just talking to Akhila morning and I was saying this whole program is like a handbook of experiences of being a teacher. The program is designed such a way that you can always look back and say, oh, that's the experience that I wanted and this is the way we do it. Second, I think it also reiterates the fact that the school has to be a learning community. Whether you're a teacher trainee or you're a mentor or you're a coordinator or you're one of the teachers who's facilitating a conversation, it gives ample scope for us to revisit, reiterate why we are here. And I think it's, and traditionally it used to be called in-service education. There's something called pre-service education and teaching training programs and in-service. And I think this is an in-service education. Our staff meetings, our teacher training program, the way we evolved it and the way we review it and work for its functioning, every teacher gets involved. And as I see it, the more number of teachers who become mentors strengthens the school. There is a better understanding and a refinement of understanding of what the school is all about. How important it is not to move away from the teachings and become another alternate school or a progressive school. So the commitment to Krishnamurti's vision of education gets, at least I see it as getting deepened and strongly entrenched with the teacher training program. Every year, 3 months goes in it, in planning for it and trying to make the program as valuable for the people inside the school as well as for the people who come in for 3 months. And I think that's the secret of how this program has sustained for 19 years. And we are going into the 20th year. Also, I think it's very refreshing for a teacher to re-look at certain things, There's a certain sense of involvement, a certain sense of ownership of why we do what we do. Sometimes, a teacher might just come, or some of us teachers who have been here long, keep doing things. And we sometimes forget how it all started. So the teacher training program, annual teacher training program in 3 months helps us to go back, recheck, see how aligned we are to what we are saying and what we are doing. Are the components clearly indicating the possibilities of and the richness of a Krishnamurti education? So I think that has been the learning, and it continues. Every year we come across something new that we learn while we are working out on the program, and sometimes we learn it from the people who come inside and give us a very different perspective of how they are receiving the program. So it has been a very good learning point for us, I think.
Keeps you on your toes. Absolutely.
Yes, in a way. And I would say for a teacher who's been here for very long, I think it's a very good thing. I feel energized, refreshed. Every time you think of something, there's so many more new thoughts. And also not that we get stuck with a certain idea. We are schools which are very different from other schools, but we shouldn't just get stuck to the fact that we are different. There should be a clear understanding of why we are different, why are we wanting to be different. It strengthens the vision, I think, in a Krishnamurti school with a program like this, because you are challenged. The people who come in are not teachers of your school. They would ask you challenging questions, and you have to think through with them, explore, read, find out, talk to your colleagues, and get back as a mentor.
From what you said
Akhila, you can
earlier,
tell me the challenge.
from what you said earlier, I also get the feeling that you feel that, we are different, yes, because we are doing something which is based on a very coherent, cohesive philosophy. But these are
Yes,
things which can actually are applicable in multiple, spaces of life, other organizations, other schools, and it's something which is
exactly.
well worth sharing. It's not just something you're keeping to yourself and trying to sort of
Exactly.
nurture it and hone it and so on. It's something which is like
Around
ready
30 years back, Alok, we were,
Hmm.
I do see, we were seen as alternate school, progressive school. And there was, at least in me, a little discomfort about just being seen as an alternative, progressive place. And I think with the teacher training program, we have been able to define what we are, through the program, and in a way define for ourselves what is that alternate thing that we are talking about. We are not alternate. This has to be mainstream education.
Right, right.
I'm convinced
Glad,
about that.
glad to hear you say that. Yeah. This is what education should really be.
Yes.
And that, okay. But now I think I would like to throw it open a little. But before that, Akhila, maybe three main challenges that you face in running the program. What are some of the difficulties, challenges? If there are some downsides, if at all, maybe you could just briefly speak about that.
The biggest challenge is we decided to uh, situate this program between January and March. And
Hmm.
we thought that that would be good because between January and March, with the two senior classes becoming involved in their board exam and going off for their study holidays and becoming involved in that, quite a few teachers are freed from active teaching classes.
Hmm.
And that's how we thought that this is a very good time to have the program because there are more teachers who can become involved in it because they won't be burdened by these classes and they would actually have time to uh, be part of the program. But over the years, particularly in the past uh, 3, 4 years, the scenario has changed a lot because the council now wants the schools to provide them with supervising examiners, with external invigilators, with people who go in for corrections, and so on. So it has now become a bit of a difficulty. It's quite a challenge now. If we want somebody to take on the role of a mentor, and then suddenly the mentor is called for corrections or called for invigilation or for any other exam duty. So that is one of the biggest challenges that we face. I don't know three challenges, but this is definitely the
Okay.
one big challenge that we face. The other, of course, is internal in the sense that sometimes not everybody is convinced that they can be a mentor. So if you want somebody to be a mentor, you need somebody who's feeling happy and comfortable about it. So most times people who've been asked to be mentors are happy to do it. There have been occasional instances where they felt nervous about it and hesitant about it. But I don't know if anybody has said, I won't be a mentor. I suppose they just are hesitant and nervous, but they do become very good mentors. Because in a sense, I think to be a mentor, you also need to be a little humble because you can't be entrenched in your own belief systems. You need to be able to listen to the kind of questions that they have, and some of the questions they have, you wish you'd raise them. So these are the only challenges that I see. The downside, if at all there is to the program, is um, it's really intense and it does keep the coordinators and the mentors on their toes. And if you're not ready for that kind of a challenge, it could become a bit of a stressful situation for you. I I can't add anything further to it unless Bina has something she'd like to add.
Not a challenge, but sometimes a sadness with which you'll have to tell the teacher trainees that we won't be able to accommodate them in the next year. as a teacher in the school, because most of them grow so happy and comfortable in the school that they wish to continue as teachers, and sometimes we are not able to accommodate it. Though it's stated clearly in the beginning that there is that bit.
Suddenly, Bina is frozen, and Akhila too. I'm not sure. Maybe the connectivity in the school is. Anyway, when they come back, they will finish what they have to say. But meanwhile, I'll ask all the other people attending the seminar
Look
to.
at evaluation and assessment. An introduction to that.
For a while you were frozen, both of you.
Okay.
So
I was
last
saying,
part we missed, yeah.
Yeah, it said the internet connection was a little unstable.
okay.
Yeah, now it's back, yeah.
So one part of the program which we could include in the program is evaluation and assessment, which is a part of the bread and butter of teacher training programs. So that is something that I've been thinking of, but thought we'll go into it a little slowly. We started with micro teaching and mini teaching. So maybe next year we could introduce how do we explain evaluation and assessment and give it its appropriate and space, not take over the whole program. As a teacher, how you have to keep it in mind, at the same time use it as a diagnostic way of checking learning and not to be judgmental on performances.
So what you're saying is that the program itself is also undergoes slow reviews, changes, additions, certain shift of emphasis. It's a living, dynamic kind of a program.
Yes.
Yeah, no, wonderful to hear. I think the overall description which you've given and the many nuances also which have come through. And I'm sure more will come through if we invite questions now. It's around past 4:20 and we have time up to 5. So I would invite people to type in their questions and have it come on the chat box. Unless the two of you have some final words to add, which you may have wanted to share. Meanwhile, people can start writing their questions.
I just wanted to add that being a Krishnamurti school and being informed by the teachings of Krishnamurti, that the key aspect of it comes in through daily practice. It isn't something that is separately introduced into the program, but it becomes part, because the approach is pedagogical. But even though it's pedagogical in approach, it's informed by the philosophy of Krishnamurti. And through all these sessions, there's a strong philosophical base with which we do our work, and that comes through in the conversations, in the inputs that we provide, in the questions that are raised. So I just wanted to add that bit.
In fact, I had wanted to ask that question as to how is Krishnamurti's vision woven in, but I think more or less what you said, it became apparent. That is woven in. It's not something given as an explicit kind of a teaching, but it's actually in practice, in observation, in participation, in conversations, in multiple ways in which you do things. Now I'm trying to see, I believe questions have started coming in the Q&A, but I don't know where the Q&A is. Oh, there it is. Okay, I now got it. Yeah, okay. In fact, very first question is related to this. Is there also an opportunity to engage in an inquiry or dialogue on Krishnamurti's teachings and how this inquiry session is taken up with students by the teacher? So maybe you could respond to that.
Shall I?
Yes, Akhila, you go ahead. Yeah.
So if I've missed that out, one of the regular things that happens every week is this session either based on a Krishnamurti text or based on an audio or a video, which happens and with all the trainees, and there is one or two anchors who anchor that session every week. Besides this, we have the study center meetings that happen every month. And all the trainees are part of the study center meetings. Um, they do have questions on Krishnamurti's philosophy, which they raise with their trainees and also bring it into their various conversations that they have. And also, we do take them to Vasant Vihar. So they spend an entire day at Vasant Vihar. They watch a Krishnamurti video, they have a dialogue out there, and they visit the archives and the bookstore and spend that entire day out there. They have lunch there. So these aspects are taken care of in this manner. Bina, you'd like to add?
No, I think you've covered it.
Yeah. So basically, they have dialogue sessions and inquiry along with others, but they don't
Yes.
necessarily sit in on a session where students are having a dialogue with teachers. That you heard earlier
If
itself.
when we do have sometimes, see, this is the time, this is just before February 17th. And so we do also have sometimes an assembly, a long assembly, where we break into small groups over a K-text. Prior to February 17th, we have this kind of a conversation with children. So they participate in that as well.
Okay. So they do get an experience of children talking about some of these
Also, yes.
issues also. And February 17th happens to be Krishnamurti's
Bang in the middle of the program, yes.
Okay. Somebody has very explicit questions. Could you share some books from the reading list? Maybe, we could do that a little later. There is, I think, maybe 2 or 3 key texts you could just mention. Person is quite curious about this.
I have the list in front of me. Maybe I could just say, tell you a bit.
4 or 5, not more. Because you have a long list.
So there is Stephen Harrison's The Happy Child, How Children Learn and How Children Fail by John Hort. There is Toto-chan by Tetsuko Kuroyanagi. And there are, so this Deschooling Society by Ivan Illich, for instance. So these are some of the texts that we have.
Okay. And do you update this list from time to time? Yeah.
Yes, we keep updating it. Yes.
Okay.
This is from 3 years ago, the list that I read out from.
Yeah.
So we keep updating the list, and we also provide them with educational journals and magazines, and of course our own journal of the K schools.
Right. Do you select articles from that because it's so many?
No, we don't select articles from there, unless we want to make it part of our pedagogical input session.
Just an exposure that there are these journals. Anything which interests you, you could read it. Okay.
Yes.
Sometimes we recommend an article if a teacher trainee asks for specific questions which they need. We would say, read this articles from this journal, and then we have a conversation around it.
Okay.
So it forms the basis of a conversation. So we do reference the journal articles.
Right.
If it's in their planning sheet, if it's one of the questions that they wish to understand.
Right.
So there is some basis on which we talk and not start from the beginning.
Right. So someone wants to know, is there an age limit for the course? Can someone from an older age bracket also join the course? Is there some restriction of that?
No, age is not a criterion at all. There have been young teachers in their early 20s to young trainees in the early 20s to people who in their mid 40s who have applied. We have not said that it's a criterion at all. Age is not a criterion.
So someone who's 50 can also apply?
Yes.
I happily.
Yeah. Okay. So that answers that question. Yeah. There's a question about, I think it's the pedagogical approach of the school. I don't know whether it's directly related to the teacher education program, but in a mixed age classroom, learners may be at different stages of progression. What indicators do teachers have to look for to know what an individual child is learning meaningfully, and how how does their learning get supported while maintaining the collaborative nature of the classroom? So this is, of course, very
It's a
key
very
aspect of
specific
the school.
question.
Yeah, very
It's
specific.
a specific question to classroom practices. So I don't think we can talk about it here, though we are equipped. It will be very sidelining from the
Yeah.
teacher
Need an
training
entire
program.
webinar for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big topic in itself. But I suppose some of the teacher trainees must be asking this question also.
We do have a pedagogical input session in which we talk about the mixed age group classroom and what were some what
Teaching learning.
informed us and why we went into this both in the junior and the middle school. What were some things that we held as important practices and how we came upon the program and how we designed it. We do talk about that with them.
Okay.
And they do ask these questions, the kind of question that we got just now. They do ask us those questions, but I think it'll take a long time for us to unravel the entire thing and to
It's a big topic.
actually do justice to the question.
Yeah, I think there are some factual questions which people have. I mean, I'll just answer them myself. There's once a year this program is conducted and is conducted in the school Chennai. The time period is January to March. Still, despite all the challenges, the same period it continues to be used. Yeah. Okay. So those are I think factual questions. Someone asked, to what extent is an understanding of Krishnamurti's teachings necessary for someone in the teacher training program? Is it seen as a prerequisite or something that unfolds through the process of becoming a teacher? I think that's a worthwhile question. Maybe one of you could respond to that. You've already, in fact, indicated it at the beginning, but
one should be an open person, open to learning, willing to learn, and definitely the teacher training program is completely embedded with the vision of Krishnamurti. So, and we do believe that this is a way forward in education. So, if a person is averse to a certain philosophical bent of the program, I think the program won't work for that person. So, it's not necessary to understand or know about Krishnamurti's teaching, but being open to listening and seeking for oneself the truth of what is placed. But open to dialogue. We don't have to completely agree with all that we are saying. A lot of opportunities to disagree, listen, observe, move forward, read. So I would say it is an opportunity to learn how the philosophy works in practice, because his philosophy is so directed through schools. The way of his philosophy coming into practice is in the school teachings. So it is not a prerequisite that they should have read Krishnamurti and but at the same time it would aid them if there was an interest to learn about new educational thought or a different way of looking at schools and classroom teaching.
So another question, I think it's sort of echoes a little, is the intent of the program primarily about helping teachers understand and participate in the school's educational ethos? Or is the process also open to questioning and transforming the school itself if fresh insights emerge? I think you have touched upon this, but maybe you could just respond to it as a question that has been framed.
It's a three-month program, and I don't know how much of of the trainees could actually work to bring about anything transformative in those 3 months for the school itself. But it could transform them individually in certain subtle ways and maybe certain obvious ways also in how they approach learning. In fact, many of the applicants often turn to this program when they are perplexed with their own children's growth. And as parents, they say, what is it that we should do that will be right by our children? And then they look around and they find this program and they say, okay, this is something that might help me. So when a person is coming in with that attitude, I don't know how much of that could translate into something that will uh, become uh, very will help the school transform. But definitely their insights, their understanding, and if we can take it with that kind of humility, I think it will allow us to grow in a variety of ways.
I think you've also indicated that the mentors themselves, in the process of meeting fresh questions, refresh their
Yes.
own thinking, they grow. The community itself is holding something quite vital like this, that itself is an opportunity for growth and newer insights and so on. So in an indirect way, the program is actually intended to facilitate that kind of growth in the school itself.
Yes.
Very true.
This, I think, already answered over the last 19 years, how this training program has been updated year by year. And how has it adopted new things as the world has changed or the world has progressed, he puts it. I would say the world has changed. Progress is a very loaded word.
So
Are
we
there-
do
Yeah,
a program every time before in November, December, we review the program. We also have feedback from the teacher trainees about what went well for them in the program. So we see for ourselves. We sit in on different sessions and we see whether we want to change the pedagogical sessions, the themes. We've changed some of them. That whole thing on why does this concern us is a new element which we added because we felt that we, we, uh, we a teacher needs to know about education in the wider canvas. As I told you about micro teaching, mini teaching. So constantly we do read people who are coordinating the teacher training program. We keep abreast of other teacher training programs. We also listen to what is happening at our staff meetings when things come up and we say, well, this is something that's important. I think every teacher should have an understanding of this or an introduction to it. Then we insert it into our teacher training program. So we gain from the teacher trainees who go through the course. We also gain from our own, even our reading also improves because to keep abreast of what is happening in the world. So these are different ways by which we made sure that the program is not a static one. It's quite different from what it was 19 years back to now. But the core has remained the same, that it is self-directed, it is a connect between the Krishnamurti philosophy and the practices in the school. And it is a wonderful opportunity, I think, for teachers to actually be in the heart of a center of a school. Very rarely do any teacher get that opportunity unless you are enrolled into the school, you're inducted into the school. To be a part of the school, a living school, everyday functioning, and at the same time not committed to anything.
So a question which I'm just going to reframe slightly. Is it something that you've observed happening that teachers and participants who might have worked in traditional schools find themselves unlearning their habits or their conditioning that they've carried for years?
I think they come in with that intent also. Many of them come there and say, I have to unlearn everything. I have to start afresh with a blank slate and see how. And when the question persists, they are the fact that Bina said about them being open, not just to understanding the philosophy of Krishnamurti and how it pervades the school's atmosphere, but also understanding what is it that we do with the children and where does it begin and what is the bedrock on which we begin all these. I think that willingness to learn really does move them, really does help them in uh, saying that, okay, this is one particular thing that I might have to give up or I might have to move or modify or change.
So you're saying that there needs to be some basic discontent for someone to join this program.
Yes,
Not
yes,
someone who's already fixed in their ways, that I'm just getting an additional
absolutely.
certificate
Yes,
kind of thing.
yes.
That should be very
That's
clear. Someone who's really on a learning journey, yeah, and
True.
wants to engage with something which they feel will help them to grow and come in contact with their own habits and conditioning. Because I think as
Yes.
all these interactions happen, I'm sure people come in contact with their own habits, their conditioning, their assumptions, and so
Yes.
and the reflection, the journals, the conversations, all that are ways of loosening all of that up in some way. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
we provide the framework for loosening, but I think we've
We
stayed
have to
clear
do it.
of having an objective of converting or
Yeah.
making them one kind of teacher.
Not
So that
really,
we are something that we are very wary of. We shouldn't fall into that trap of having one standard end that we want all our teachers after the course they should be here, because
Right.
that would mean something, then we'll have to, there'll be stagnation.
Yeah.
So
That'll change the relationship which you have with
yes,
an open
so
It
relationship.
would
it's
it
an
would go
open,
against our grain, because when in our school, when we've been saying to each other and we've been telling the students as well that there has to be a variety in the experiences that you get in your class, experiences that you get with your teachers. We don't want them to fall into some kind of a straitjacket either.
So, in fact, someone has said that I strive to be spontaneous as possible while interacting with students. Still, I tend to get into formulaic teaching and evaluation. Any suggestions? Yeah, that's a big question, though. Huh? But I think a lot of self-reflection is required there, because all of us tend to get into habit patterns. So, to become aware of your
right.
habit patterns itself would be a starting point, and you know that this happens to you. So just striving to be spontaneous is not enough. Actually, to be watchful of your own behavior as you're confronted with situations would probably, and that I'm sure
If
teachers.
that becomes spontaneous, I suppose it'll
Yeah,
work. The
yeah,
spontaneity in watching oneself as we
And
speak.
and also, if one can give up oneself when one's a teacher, it can't be about you. It's got to be about the learning. That has to be at the center. I think if that realization happens, then there is no formula will work.
yeah. So there are a couple of people interested in knowing that if they are not Chennai residents, are there any ways of joining the program? Have some past trainees found brilliant solutions where they can stay temporarily in Chennai? Have you had such situations? People
Yeah.
come outstation.
Outstation people have come, but the thing is they need to find accommodation close by,
That's their
because we are unable to offer accommodation at school. But we've had trainees come from Jaipur, from Bangalore, from various places, and they have managed to find accommodation, or they had relatives with whom they could stay, and they did that.
Okay. There are also some, I think, slightly outside the frame of these questions about other programs that KFI runs. So I think for information, there is an online program called Role of a Teacher, which is also run by KFI, and it has been primarily a 4-month online program, but I think they're adding a component of campus stay for people who choose to do that for, I think, 3-week period or so. So I think information about that will be available on the KFI website. And that is different from this program. I think we should also make that clear. This is a immersive, intensive in-house program in one school, whereas the other program is called Role of a Teacher, is conducted online by various facilitators, including people from the school and other schools. Let me see, are they... I think this has already been answered. Trainees don't get opportunity to teach in classes or sit in classes to observe. I think Akhila made that clear earlier, that a lot of other participation except the classroom interaction with teachers does happen in this program. And they meet students in a variety of other forums also. This, I think, is again outside the scope of this, but how do teachers, I mean, maybe this is a question that teacher trainees might have, find a balance between the philosophy and pedagogical rigor? Is that a non-question, would you say, or would you like to respond to it? No, actually, the question is framed: how are teachers able to balance between pedagogy/philosophy and the rigor? I think it's related with academic rigor in
It
higher
it
classes.
I mean, they are not contrasts. I mean, how can you go into a classroom without that philosophy, which is going to be your anchor? And
Yeah.
it has to be your anchor no matter what you do. And the rigor will find its place. I mean, I don't see it as either or kind of a situation at all.
Yeah. Rigor would be embedded in a way in which you approach your
Very
student,
much,
the
yes.
relationship, the
Like,
subject.
is it not possible to be uh, rigorous with a great deal of affection, or is rigor only in some kind of a stern grumpiness? I don't know. So, I mean, I'm just exaggerating in order to uh, explain what I'm trying to say.
So here's a question, which I think is an interesting question. Is the vision of the school to preserve and transmit Krishnamurti's educational philosophy, or is it to create a space where inquiry itself is central along with academic excellence? I think this is a perception that is very often, held, that is it a way in which Krishnamurti's philosophy is being transmitted, or is it something else? Maybe to
I
some extent
I
you've
think it's
already
the
responded.
latter.
Yeah. And could you just spell it out a little bit? Yeah, why you feel the inquiry is more central and it's not something where you're transmitting educational philosophy?
I um, I think that in everything that we do in school, whether it's the culture classes that we have or whether it is the staff meetings that we have, there is no attempt to uh, transmit any kind of a philosophy. On the other hand, it becomes part of the question, part of the dialogue, part of the it's a process, and the process is embedded in serious inquiry. And I think that's what we try to do. I don't think this is separate, or this is a way by which we transmit something. In fact, we used to tell each other at school that school sells nothing. There's nothing that's sold at school, not even philosophy. So we are not in that business. Whereas if the school cannot make inquiry integral to what happens in school on a daily basis, then that school really has not uh, based itself or founded itself on the philosophical uh, thoughts and teachings of Gay. Bina, you want to add?
I completely agree. It is the latter. A school is a space for inquiry, whether it's for the teacher or for the student, and both of us. It's a place where we have that relationship where we can inquire without fear, with affection. And in so doing, maybe the teachings are transmitted, maybe, but that's not the objective of creating that space. Schools are the spaces for open inquiry, thinking through, working together, all of which are important aspects of what Krishnamurti has been talking about.
Yeah, someone wants to know in a nutshell, what is the philosophy of Krishnamurti's education? Now that's very, very difficult, but he also says, is there a reference book for this? And that I think we can definitely point to reference books. I think a very early book is called Education and the Significance of Life, which was written in the 1950s. I think it's still as relevant as it was then. And there are other books which Krishnamurti has written, which are explicitly on education. Krishnamurti on Education is a series of conversations with students as well as with teachers, maybe in the 70s. And then there are other books. So there are
The whole movement of life is learning.
yeah. There's Letters to the Schools, which has been republished as The Whole Movement of Life is Learning, which were letters written in late 70s and 80s. Every fortnight, he used to write a letter to each of the schools that he had founded, and each letter would unfold a
Educating the
particular
educator.
theme. Yeah. So we could sort of mention these books here. Can you kindly comment on the issue of progress I have a feeling this refers to the earlier question that how has the program changed in terms of seeing the progress that has happened in the world. So, and I think I put quotation marks in my repetition of the question. Is that right? I think that's what the question implies. That what has actually changed in the world? Has it been progress, or has there been more and more complex issues arising? And is that part of the motivation for introducing this? Why does this concern me? Component into the program, that there are so many things which are actually impinging on us now in a very strong way. But how would you see it, Bina and Akhila?
Yeah.
So I think as long as we don't see anything as a problem, but to understand what is happening around us, I wouldn't put it as progress, being progressive and being modern, but just to grow aware of what is happening around us and understand it with all its complexities, without seeking for a solution, without seeking for an answer, without making it a problem that we want to resolve. I think it is to grow aware of what is happening around us, the realities, sometimes which, we get hold in this beautiful environment and we forget that we are connected to that also, that ugly picture or that ugly side. I think that was the reason why we introduced that, that little, those sessions on why does this concern me. And I think to grow aware is caring. And when there's care, there's responsibility and response. And I think it is not to be progressive, it's not to be modern. But I think it's important at any time in life or in the history of a program to be aware of what is happening around and not get cocooned into, into a small space and say, this does not concern me. We cannot live like that. That's my response.
I'd like to add a little bit more. See, it's very often it's tricky because teachers do begin to live in certain silos, particularly if they're taking a subject and they're not a class teacher. That subject becomes a silo in itself. And then the kind of questions that come up, they get suppressed. And there are these questions that come up. There have been questions about, for instance, this CJP. Why has the CJP come? What is it doing? Really, does it have any kind of a relevance? And I think lots of questions are there. Now, if the teacher is closing himself or herself from
CJP
what's
incidentally is Cockroach Janta Party. It's a new movement of young
yes,
people.
the Cockroach Janta
Some people
Party.
may not be aware of that. Yeah, it's a kind of a runaway
Yeah.
movement.
Or what's happening in West Asia, or what's happening in different parts of the world, or Hormuz, or any of these issues that are happening. And the teacher has to have a kind of a 360 view of all these things and be able to face those questions. And there may be questions that are intensely personal about the queer movement, for instance. Now, if you're going to be shy or if you're going to be inhibited about it, it is going to be very difficult for you to relate to the child's question or to understand where this question is coming from and to give it an adequate response. And so therefore, to become aware of what is happening inside you when you come upon a particular topic or particular theme or particular issue, how do you respond to it? I think it's necessary for the teacher to be as aware of that as the student be made aware of what's happening inside as well. So I think that definitely, I think, was informed by the fact that so many things are happening in society and one cannot be isolated. One cannot be cut off. One cannot be an island in that sense.
And nor can one have
We are oases, but not islands.
Yeah, nor can we have a unidimensional view that there's a lot of progress in the world because technology is growing in so many ways. In fact, we should be aware of all the downsides of all the technological growth, the AI revolution, what it actually means for us as human beings, what does it mean for the world, the environmental concerns that it raises, the philosophical.
Yeah, we can't keep our heads inside the sand anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
And yes, and I also feel the teacher training program actually one of the things that one needs to learn from this program, there's so much of reading, and teachers need to read, teachers need to write, teachers must do the things that the trainees are doing or being asked to do.
Right. So here's a slightly difficult question, I think, but we may have this as the last. What suggestions would you offer to a teacher who wishes to bring some of the qualities and spirit of the learning environment found in Krishnamurti school into their own classroom while working within a conventional school setting? And he's elaborated on his own school setting. I'm a PGT teacher currently working in a conventional school that follows the IB curriculum. Unfortunately, the school functions based on a business-oriented corporate model, and the culture is largely shaped around competition, rewards, and fear both for students and teachers. One can see how this culture unknowingly creates an atmosphere that deepens divisions within oneself and between one another, and how this influences the relationships we have. Understanding that rewards and punishments can become ways of manipulating behavior in learning, I consciously try not to bring them into my classroom. However, it becomes challenging to create a different kind of learning environment when one is part of the larger school culture and context. I think many teachers probably had this challenge or dilemma, and not very easy to respond to that. But would you have some thoughts on this, based on your experience of people coming from different orientations? Here's someone who's obviously thinking about all these issues and is concerned, yet, is located in a kind of a cultural matrix which seems to reinforce something which is different from the grain of what he would like to bring.
If in his classroom he does not indulge in comparison, and I think that would be one major, very important way in which he could rid them of this fear, that there is no fear here. This is a safe space, and there is no comparison here. And it's okay to make mistakes. It's all right to raise a question. No question is awkward or prohibited. I think that kind of openness and a great deal of affection is I mean, it's very trite. When I say this, I feel, how can I don't know his
Yeah,
situation as
yeah.
well to be able to give him any kind of
Teachers may be
advice, but
comparing each other, putting pressure on the students to compare with each other. Students
yeah,
get habituated to that. And yet you are here, one teacher trying to create some kind of a
yeah,
different culture in the classroom.
it's difficult.
If it becomes too much, maybe you need to find a different space where
Yeah,
things are not that way.
yeah,
Uh, which is more against the grain of what you feel is right for students, right for children. But I think meanwhile, while you're there, I think it's still, there is an agency every teacher has to, in your classroom, you're the only one with the students, there's no one else. And students can sense what your intentions are. And, over time, sometimes you can build a relationship with them, which is not based on reward, punishment, manipulation, etc., etc. And, sometimes then students remember just that one teacher who actually stood by them, where everyone else was sort of, pushing them around here and there. So, I mean, there are instances of that kind too. So we've had lots of questions. I think, and there are more which I have not been able to, reflect back to you. There are many actually which are partly related to, can I do the program? Someone staying outstation. So I think what you've shared seems to have generated a certain interest in this program. Very glad that there is a program like this, but there may be other such opportunities, which I think the online program of Role of a Teacher is there, which also gives you a space to actually engage with deeper issues which an educator or a teacher could be concerned with. And I mean, there are other spaces also, I think, few and far in
yeah.
between, which I think one could explore. Yes, I think maybe we could bring it to a close now. It's coming to close to 5 o'clock. Thank you very much, Bina and Akhila. I'm also feeling much more informed and much more energized, and I would love to actually personally visit next time the program is running and see it in action to get
Please
a
do come.
glimpse
Thank
of
you
it.
very much, Alok and Siddhartha, for being such supports and helping us think through this, because I think your questions were good ways. I mean, they were signposts that we could use to tell you about the program. So thank you very, very much for all the prior work, the emails that we had, the conversations that we had. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Thank you, Alok. Thank you, Siddharth. It's been a pleasure. And talking about the program has made me feel even more, energized about doing more things for the program. Thank you
yeah.
so much. It was a lovely
May the program live long. The people may change, but may the program live long. May many more people sort of,
Yeah.
grow with it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we can.
So we can, do we leave?
Yes, it's exactly 5 o'clock. So thank you to all participants who've come. And we hope to see you in the next webinar, which you will hear notice of in due course. Yeah, 2 months from now, I think.